Welcome back to another episode of the Maine State of Mind. We're actually here at Galactic Comics this time with Paul Eaton, proprietor. I'm going to call you proprietor. Is that cool?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Proprietor of the podcast, or the comic book world. Best comic book shop in Bangor, right?
That's it. Second year in a row.
Second
year in a row.
Multiple years in running, yeah.
That's right.
One up two. in Bangor.
We counted as four.
Four now?
They're counted as four.
Okay, so there's a couple more other than you. But
yeah. There's a few of the larger ones do classify as comic store because of related sales. But so I didn't just beat out one.
No, you beat four.
Beat out three more.
But I mean, let's be honest. It's one of those weird things. You see the same award. It's given away to best bartender and all that stuff. It's nice to see these because it's not some sort of group of people that are giving these awards away either. It's the fans.
Yeah, it has
the people
actually being based on votes.
Yes, so it's not like you are the best in a sense, like sales wise or volume or the way the store looks or anything like that. It's the people who shop here think you're the best, so they're gonna vote for you for the best. So it's pretty cool. I mean, obviously, it was a little while ago someone voted this, but I'm here in the spot on Hammond Street in Bangor. We tried to do this for a while. I'm glad we're here. Adam couldn't make it tonight, but he'll be here at some point, and we'll figure out that.
I haven't actually seen proof that this guy exists.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I haven't seen that.
And he can't. This is like we were supposed to do this a couple weeks ago, and he get canceled that night, too.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe he just gets too tired at night. He's older than us.
No, well, that could happen.
How old
I hear about old guys. 39.
Yeah, he's older than us. He's in his 40s.
I did math there for a second.
Yeah, he's a little old.
That's bad.
We're here to talk comic books again.
Yeah, imagine that.
Weird. The wife doesn't want to hear you talk about comic books, so she didn't want to listen. But
yeah, she won't listen. No, she listens to it for free at home all the time. So realistically, trying to log on to watch it, I don't.
So you actually just do is record while you're doing that, so you have that.
All this extra time.
Your wife is going, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice, hon.
I don't care what Superman can do. Let's go take the trash out. Superman doesn't have to take the trash out. I don't care. But we're going to talk writers. This is one of those ones that I thought was those categories. We're going to run out of these categories. So I feel like as we get further with these countdown or comic book style comic books or episodes, that we're going to run out of some categories. So we are going to do more generic comic book conversations that are going to happen, which is pretty cool. What I will say is this episode kicks off the Maine State of Mind comic book extravaganza. Yes. 6 weeks of comic book related podcasts.
That's awesome.
That features this. It features Josh Moulton from Queen City Cinema Club jumping on and talking comic book movies. It features some specials, some bonuses. We have a comic book creator coming on at some point. And then we're also... Adam and I are going to do another episode that is just us talking the future of Marvel, like what we expect, how they're going to introduce Fantastic Four into the MCU and all that stuff.
I'm excited to see that after the
it's be fun.
Really rough go the Fantastic Four has had on the big screen. It'll be nice to see how they get into the official MCU. And
we've touched on it. We touched on it with Josh that comes out next week. We talked with Josh about how we'd like to see him not do an origin story. I think we're all on the same page with that. Like,
I think we know where it came from.
You could do a flashback if you want to, like a little this is how it happened, or in the credits as you're rolling the credits at the beginning, you see them getting their powers.
That'd be a cool way to do the credits going.
The other way is to introduce them in another TV show, like introduce them through a TV
show. Drop
them
through. Yeah.
So so there's that, all those different things. So we'll talk about that, and then finally we'll finish out the 6-week extravaganza with Will and Jay from Bangor Comic and Toy Con to talk this year's Comic-Con guests and things like that. So we're pretty excited. Adam and I are pumped. There'll be some bonus things too. I'm going to talk some other stuff in between with bonus episodes. But we're excited, so this kicks it off.
Nice.
It's fun.
It's awesome.
So we're going to talk writers. In the past, we've done top 10. We go back and forth. I think we'll just go back and forth on our top 5, but not really in order.
Yeah.
It's funny when I was saying, when I wanted to go down to 5, I was like making it easier for us.
Right. Yeah.
5. And then I realized, how can I whittle it down to 5? Yeah. I think that's like one of the things I would rather do, like a top 7.
Right.
Like top 5 and top 10 are what you usually hear, top 20.
It was funny.
A 7 would be nice.
This one, when we did 5, and I'm like, oh God, how am I going to pick 5? And I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm like, oh, I'm done. That was easy. Yeah, exactly. Like literally walking out of the room, I was talking to my wife about like, I got to pick 5 writers that are my favorite writers. and walking out, I'm like right in a row, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm done. Like,
this is it. So I don't need. I'm good. We're good.
I apparently don't have to think anymore about it.
I pop in and on and off with mine. I had some that went on, some went off. I definitely think that we've had discussions about ages of comic books and how we, I'm not a huge, and I'll just preface this before we get into what our tops are. I like comic books from the 80s and the 90s. I like the way they look. I like the way they are. I like the stories that are behind them. So I was trying to explain this to Colton, who was just here before he left from Warner Brewing Company. Yeah. That if you were to sit down and write the overall arching story in the 80s and 90s of comic books, those are good. The storylines are good. Yeah. The actual speech bubbles and scripts really to me are really bad. It's
generally a very much a struggle.
I am not a huge fan of the 1990s and 1980s comic book writing.
I think there's some fine like gems out there to pluck. But overall, I would agree. It's a very, I don't want to say it's a dated era, but you can feel the era that you're reading. Yeah. And the art for me too. I can enjoy and appreciate some of it, but some of it I get very like, you get disgusted with.
Well, it's the four color thing too. It's like it's very simple. It's very different, and they didn't do a lot of like cool extra things that Todd McFarlane got in trouble with drawing and like overlapping panels and things like that. Yep. So the 80s and 90s are great because I think that's the history. It's for me, for a Marvel fan, that's where a lot of the stuff came from.
Yeah, that was
you're seeing on TV
era of it
now and stuff like that. But so I wanted to like preface this a little bit, and you probably agree with me on this. Chris Claremont, great writer. I mean, great history. He had the history of making X-Men what it is now.
Absolutely.
Obviously, Stan Lee. A lot of people were going to put him in as a good writer. He's a great story writer. And all that stuff. Jim Starlin, Frank Miller. So there's a lot of those people that have good backgrounds.
The origin writers. And I mean, it's kind of like that's a way, too, of looking through the history of comics. Is someone going to really say that Bob Kane was like one of the greatest comic writers of all time? He created Batman. Yeah. Great. But are you going to sit and read one of these original like masterpiece work style books, and you may enjoy it for your nostalgia feel, but if you really truly are looking at the overall story of most of these things, I don't know.
No,
it's awfully hard to say that. Oh, this was a great read.
Yes, and exactly. That's why you have people who are so you can write something. I can write a description of what I would like a comic book to be right now.
Sure,
but does not make me a good person to write the actual comic book. And put the speech bubbles where they're supposed to, like what the word people are actually going to physically say. I could write a movie. You and I can come up with an idea for a movie right now. It's going to be an unbelievable name for a movie, but I'm not sitting there writing the script for the movie.
No.
And so like there's that difference between script writing and writing an overall storyline. And it's like there's also nowadays things called architects.
Yes.
You think about there's architects of comic books that are not physically writing every book, but they're writing what the whole big picture story.
Here's the plan, and you can go from there. Well, it's funny because I did a lot of writing in school and in high school. And of course, being a comic fan, I tried to write some comics. And originally, as I had these ideas, I was like, "Oh man, this is so amazing!" And one thing I started noticing of like, I want to do this with this character and that with that character. And then I started looking at them like, every one of these is the exact same with just different characters. I can't imagine how these guys and girls can write this stuff and drastically change what you're doing. Because I'm looking and I'm like, okay, I just wrote what's really at the bottom line of the same Batman story as Batman that I just also wrote with the Punisher, that I also wrote with, like Spider-Man. They're really not any different from one another. And Wolverine, I go and look at them like, wow, that really, I have no depth to any of this.
And then not write something that someone else has already wrote. Yeah. Like you do your stories from the 80s and go, oh, this is an amazing story. And like, yeah, well, they told that in the 80s.
Yep.
And like change it from that and make it your own thing. So
that's right. Your own version.
And so we can get into this. We'll talk some writers. I think writers are it's a team in comic books. The writers and the artists are together on this. And so I think a lot of artists get more credit, I think, sometimes than writers because of the fact that you physically see it.
You can see
the covers are what sell some of these comic books.
Sure.
And you actually have to physically read the comic books to understand it. I can buy any comic book you have over here on the shelf because of the way it looks. It's the writing that does that. And some teams work together. Some people write for the artists and some artists draw for the writer and back and forth.
Sometimes they'll do a lot more together with one another. I've seen going through like some of the sketchbook style ones. You can see where maybe the writer did some art and can jot out some things. Some of them aren't very talented. And they're like, this is what I want it to look like, and it's no better than what I could draw. But you can see where the artist could take that real baseline stuff and develop it from there. And that's really cool to see.
And so I'll jump into one. So let's jump in. So we're not going to do it in order, like physical order. I think we might. I might end up finishing on a particular artist or writer that might be my favorite. But again, if it ends up being you pick it number 3, not 3, but you say it number 3,
Right.
then we'll just discuss it then. It's not a big deal.
Sure.
But I mean, we can kick it off. And this is one that's more recently happened that was, you and I are already a big fan of this person's art. And that the person, it wasn't the number one thing that I like about this person, but after I get more books that I read from this dude, it just every time he's killing. He's a great artist. He's a great writer. That's SKOTTIE Young. I mean, people who listen to this podcast know that I am in love with SKOTTIE Young's art, and we have his tattoo. Paul and I both have ink from SKOTTIE Young. But with just more recently, Strange Academy, it's unbelievable. If anybody loves books that if you like Harry Potter, and you like
great.
Doctor Strange,
if you want Magic X-Men,
yes, exactly. And so, and I Hate Fairyland, obviously. Middle West, he did a great Rocket Raccoon series for Marvel.
Yep.
He's also done The Wonderful World of Wizard of Oz. He did some Deadpool, on and on and on. He has this he has this new series that literally just came out on Wednesday, August 4th, which is The Me You Love in the Dark.
Yep.
It makes me sad when you hear a new SKOTTIE Young project that he's not doing physical art for. It makes me upset.
I agree.
But you know what?
I do like, and I'm sorry, George. Oh wow, the artist that is working with him.
Yes, I don't remember now.
Now we're both gonna. Yeah, this is terrible. I do really enjoy his art with SKOTTIE's writing. I feel like if you weren't a really big SKOTTIE Young fan, you might not notice that it wasn't SKOTTIE's art.
Yes.
Because he does such a great job. His art style, they did a good job pairing the two of them together. His art style is very familiar with it. So.
Which is, if you've read Middle West, this newer book, The Me You Love in the Dark, is the same team.
It's the same team.
So it was exciting about that. But and again, we are fans because every time I hear something new project from him, he's going to at least have some sort of variant cover. So we were able to purchase on his website his variant cover of this book, The Me You Love in the Dark. But so SKOTTIE Young is just one of those things. His art's great, but he's able to tell a story. And I'll jump in there really quickly before, if you wanted to throw anything in there about SKOTTIE Young, is something about writing is that I have to want to read the next issue.
Mm-hmm.
There is such thing as a good writing that's just this is a great issue, but nothing makes me want to read the next one.
Right.
And SKOTTIE has been able to do that with Strange Academy, with I Hate Fairyland. I Hate Fairyland's only 20 issues long, and I really wish it was more.
I could have kept going.
And so it's why I'll tell you right now, I read the first issue and a half a couple weeks ago of Middle West.
Yep.
Because I was waiting for trades and things like that to get the whole story. But I stopped because I knew I would just binge it.
Yeah.
And I have so much other stuff I want to read right now. It's when I get caught up on other stuff, then I'll sit down and read the entire thing. And it's still it's not that long. It's
it's 3 trades if you do trade format.
So it's not like it's
Walking
Dead long, where it's compendiums and Spawn long. But it's one of those things that I'm I want to make sure I dedicate the time.
Really enjoy it.
Yes.
Yep.
And so I said I did not. If you would have asked me 3 years ago to make a list of my favorite 5 writers, I don't think SKOTTIE Young would have made that top cut yet.
No, I would say probably the same with me. I did the art. I love the art, but the writing was and lo and behold, SKOTTIE's on my list. Big surprise. I would say I probably recommend I Hate Fairyland at least once a week to someone in here that hasn't read it. Anybody that comes in that says, I say, what do you want to read? And they say, I don't know, I'm not a big superhero fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the first ones I go to is, okay, have you ever read I Hate Fairyland? Because it is, to me, the whimsical feel of it to kind of blend in with a Calvin and Hobbes feel, to be, but to have that completely graphic violence of it that also is hysterical because of where it's being taken place in. And the person who's wielding it, this looks like a little kid. I absolutely love it. His writing and art in that is fantastic.
Well, to say, I mentioned at the top of this thing about the writers working with the artists, and the artists working with the writers. He writes for him. He could draw all of Middle West and all of The Me You Love in the Dark. He could draw Strange Academy.
Yep.
His art leads to the story. They work together. He doesn't. Obviously, he's a one person, and he probably doesn't do the art for these books because he knows, especially with Strange Academy, he could go 75 issues or at least
easily.
15, 20 issues and then do another one and so on and so forth and spin-offs and all that stuff that he doesn't have time for it. So I understand why he would do that and why The Me You Love in the Dark is a not a Marvel project, it's an Image project, it's his own project. He can create her own.
Do what he wants to do with it.
But I Hate Fairyland is the epitome. If you want to know what SKOTTIE Young draws like, and writes like, that comic book is both. It's right in there in the same book, and it's and again, it makes me sad every time I get to issue 20 again when we're reading that book, and I'm just like, ugh.
Even though I will say, I think I loved how it ended when it wrapped up. I'm like, this is because as I read it, I'm like, how is this gonna end?
Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna end this? And it wrapped it up, and the more and more I thought about it, the more I thought that ended perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
This is just how I wanted that series to end, and I didn't even realize.
Do you still have that trade out there, or the one that
the collector one?
Yeah.
I think we sold that again.
Okay.
Yep.
But it's a great book to get, and it's, you know, and if you can't get it at your local comic book shop like this one, like if you don't live in the area, obviously, if you're listening to us on a podcast and you live in another area, SKOTTIE Young, I believe, has variations of the books on his website too.
Yes,
and a lot of times, and I will say, buy from your local comic book shop. But if you're a huge fan of SKOTTIE Young, I don't think Paul would make you upset or be upset if you bought it from him, because of the fact that a lot of those things you can buy with like book plates and signatures and all that stuff. So
so that's how I actually got for my birthday. I got Strange Academy from the website.
Yeah. And that's one of those weird. There's only a few artists that I know that run their own websites like that. Like there's very few big artists like that that have their own place where you can buy specifically on there. And Taylor went on there to buy a commission from me, or original art.
Yeah, original art.
Thinking that it would be a couple $100.
No, it's not. No.
Thousands of dollars. Like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, sometimes you get lucky with the daily sketches.
Daily sketches, and there's a couple that are still on there.
Yeah, and I keep someday.
Yeah, those are like $200-$300 depending on the ones.
Yeah, usually
some there's like 150. Some of them are $500-$600.
I think so. It depends, maybe too on the character.
The problem he does is that he does the daily sketches current. A lot of times they have to do with what's going on in the world, and because it is what's going on in the world, it's popular. Yeah. And so it's not going to stay around for long. Daily sketches go immediately.
They're usually history very quickly.
We're talking writing here, not art, so we can get off our SKOTTIE Young.
Get off our SKOTTIE Young course here for the time.
Yeah, so I said SKOTTIE Young, but if you wanted to bring up one that you have and go from there, I think we can see each other's list a little bit here. There is only one other one, just like right now.
It's also a big surprise.
That is the same, but otherwise, so we are going to be able to go back and forth on some right here. It's pretty cool.
So I have James Tynion on my list. Something's Killing the Children. I've talked about it before on this podcast. It's an amazing series. I literally can't get enough of it. As I said many times, I read and trade, so I wait for it. Yeah. And I get that trade, and I make sure that I have the time to sit down and I read the whole thing. And then I always regret doing it because now I've got to wait for another trade.
Mm-hmm. It's the TV show. Trades are like the TV show aspect of it, that it's the TV show binging aspect of it, where
you just like watch that whole season.
You know, The Walking Dead season 10 just got on Netflix. You binge the whole thing, and you're like, crap, now I've got to get to the season instead of just waiting week to week to read the episode. But the best thing about reading trades is the fact that you don't have to wait.
You have that whole arc in your hands. But James Tynion's work through Something's Killing the Children, his Batman writing. I know you're such a huge DC fan.
I'm getting
read
there.
All of his Batman work. You've picked up.
I picked. So I'm getting to the point, and the funny thing about it, as I was mentioning to Colton, is that one of the writers that is on my list, it's actually the one that we had together, also has written for DC. Yep. And so it's like, to me, it's like, how can I not read or be interested or be like that, because it means his writing is what I like about that person. So we'll get to that.
Well, it's good. It's good to expand. Yes, because I have said before that I started off as really being a DC reader. Like I read DC and a few select things that I had immediate interest in, like RoboCop or something. And then came I can't. I've read all of it. I can't do any more of it. So, I'm going to start reading Marvel. Yeah. And I love Spider-Man, and then spreading out, and then going down to the horror stuff that I normally wouldn't have touched. And now I can't stop reading all of the horror.
I have it on my list. So obviously I have X amount of dollars to spend.
Yeah.
I'm a new comic book day kind of person. I like individual issues. It's one of those things I like about us on this podcast episodes like this, is that you're a trade guy. I'm an individual issue guy. Yep. Even to the point where I'm like, why did you have to get me in Department of Truth? And now I'm trying to find all the Department of Truth.
All the issues,
and so the same thing with Firepower that came out. I was like, I want this, and then I end up having to find all the issues instead of waiting for tournament trade and things like that. I'm a big individual issue kind of guy. And so I have a list, though. Like, there's definitely things that at some point I'm going to be like, okay, I know 3 weeks from now there's only 10 new comic books coming out. Yep. I'm going to pick up Something's Killing the Children.
And just go through.
And go through. And at least own it and see one day I'll read it. Yep. I just haven't got there yet. And Colin's asking, have you read Firepower yet? I want to hear what you thought about Firepower. Yeah, I'm like, dude, I read one issue of like 3 different comic books last night. Couldn't figure out which one I wanted to continue on reading the second issue yet.
Yeah.
And I just and I think the individual issue thing to me leads back to when I couldn't read very well.
Yeah.
And then I started reading books. The books that actually got me into reading books was a Ghost Hunters. You know, remember the show Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi?
Okay, yeah.
It was a show. It was basically a book that had episodes that didn't make it to air in it. So they would explain and
go through
novelize the whole thing, but it would end. Like a chapter was the beginning and
you
ending.
had that final.
And so to me, it was like, I can conquer something. So to me, the individual issue thing, and obviously graphic novels are 5 issues, so it's like
5 or more. Yeah.
It's not like it's a trade paperback is not
not
like a daunting exercise of reading. But the
speaking.
idea that I could read an issue and be like, okay, at the end of the night, if I'm reading on my iPad, you know, if I have a digital, if I have Marvel Unlimited open, I'm just trying to read Amazing Fantasy 15 because I can't own that.
Yeah, there's no way you're gonna
and I'm just
even
like,
if you own it, you're not going to read it.
When I get to the end of it, I'm done. I conquered something.
Yep.
And that's probably why my individual issue thing over. I mean, I think that even when I because I own I own a bunch of Walking Dead, but during the pandemic, I told you I may or may not have somehow gotten the digital copies online, and there was an option to download the trade paperback or compendium, and there was an option to download 193 issues. Individual issues, and I still downloaded it. It was like the weirdest thing. I was like, "Why?" I'm like, "It's weird." There's no physical copy of it, but again, I think it's the check off the box that issue 1's read, issue 2's read.
You can go through
and that's what it is. But yeah, so Something Killing the Children is on that list.
Yeah,
and some DC character books are on that list.
On that list,
and I don't think I'll ever buy them, which is okay with me. Yeah. I don't like it. Just I think Marvel's where my love is, and I think when we talk about, you own a comic book shop if you collect the things you want to collect.
Yep.
Don't come in here and buy a spec book because you think you want to make some money off of it. If you don't buy what you want, when the value of that comic book doesn't stick, now you're stuck with something you don't want. And so that's the same thing I feel like with DC. If I don't like reading it or don't want it, why am I gonna?
Why you can own it? Yeah, and I have that, and when I talk with spec guys, we have spec guys that come through, and it's like, fine, that's great, that's what you want to do, whatever. But it's different to talk to somebody who's passionate, who reads it, loves it, than it is to talk to the guys that are talking about the value and the potential and this and that. It's different people, but I absolutely would much rather sit and chat with somebody who really loves this because I love this. It's why I open this, is to share that collecting aspect, that enjoyment of it.
It's like, so I don't you bag and board a lot of books recently. No, we're not going to go in there. This is not a therapy session for Paul. Not a therapy session. Is that the one of the cool things about Paul's shop is the bags and boards. You buy a new comic book, it's bagged and boarded. It's part of his thing, and which is great because it's like I didn't have to go home and do it.
Right.
And I would say a good portion of the comic books I buy that are like collectible to me, like full physical. I've never out of that bag and board.
Right.
Like you bagged and boarded. You could have given me a bag and board that had the entire comic book missing 3 pages.
You would never know.
And I would never know, which is when Paul doesn't do that. But like it's some of those are like that. And sometimes I ask you, and I'm like, hey man, X comic book's coming out. I really want 2 issues, or I want the SKOTTIE gun cover and the regular cover. And a lot of times people were like, my wife would be like, why are you buying both? Because I want to read one. Yeah. And I want to hold on.
Well,
to one.
I mean, I have hundreds of SKOTTIE Young in my collection that have never been opened.
No.
Never gonna get opened.
No, but like
I bagged and boarded them, or my wife bagged and boarded them, or Jess bagged and boarded them, and then that's it. They never gonna
get. Trades don't usually go in value. Like trade is there's
sometimes, but it's a rare case. Yeah, but like something goes out of
trades
print,
to read.
Something like that. Yeah,
that's you got trades to read.
It.
And so maybe that's one of those things in the future. I buy single issues.
Yeah.
To hold and collect, and the other one I buy in a trade and read.
And finally read it. Yep.
And I can pass that trade along to my kid. And he can read it without getting his grimy fingers on my comic books.
On book and potentially rip it. I mean, that's one of the things I like about trades too, because I can share them. If I lend it to a friend, it's okay, it's safe. I'm not going to come out with a stack of comics and be like, okay, you have to carefully take these all out of each individual bag and board and put them back. You borrow a trade 99% of the time. If it doesn't come back, I'll find it again.
And it's we buy used. You don't care at that.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I'm just buying the story.
Well, that's the thing is, we talk about Colton again. Is Colton wanted something? What was it? Was it Avengers Disassembled or no? It was a House of M.
House of M.
And you couldn't find it brand new.
Yep.
But you're like, I can get it used. And it's like, you're not doing that. You're not. Where are you ordering a comic book on Diamond to get a back issue of a used comic book? You're not. You can get it with trades and things like that, but you can't get it with single issues. So I will get into Something Killing the Children.
Yep.
And I think this is like a third time on this show.
At least probably.
You brought it up.
Because I'm such a fan.
You brought it up because we did the top favorite. It was the first episode we did together. Our
Yeah.
first poll list episode we did together.
The female
characters was Erica Slaughter. So it's like it is there, and it's always been there. And the same thing with different the long Halloween and things like that. So
those things that obviously I really feel passionate about and can't help but recommend. And
well, that's the thing is I probably will go into reading other DC books based on that. I wouldn't just be like randomly picking up a book. It's like Paul said, read this book. I'm gonna read this book. I may not have a love for it like you do, but who knows? I may be like one of those things. I'm like, dude, where this something killing the children hasn't been in my life for what reason?
Right.
And that
But I mean, because of you, I'm now obsessively searching for a Civil War box set so I can try to understand why you like the Civil War arc so much. When I read it and was like, meh.
Well, and again, what was the thing we talked about? I listened to a podcast that said the reason why some people's favorite comic book characters or writers or artists are those things is because when they first picked up comic books and first picked up these things, that was the book that they first picked up.
Yeah.
Like, why is somebody's favorite writer Chris Claremont, and why is the X-Men their favorite characters? Is because when they were younger, someone gave them an X-Men comic book issue, random issue in the middle of a series arc, and they read it and they loved it, and now forever Chris Claremont's their favorite writer, and Wolverine's their favorite character, and it's like that. It's part of I think the why Marvel's my favorite thing is because the first thing I ever read was Marvel.
It's great because you do get those stories, and sometimes it's funny to hear the characters that 99% of people would not say is their favorite character. But, if it's individual, I had this one issue, the first issue, and I had Morph was in it, you know what I mean? Yes. Or pick your, more obscure character that character stuck with me forever because that was the first comic book I ever read.
And that's the reason why I said that is because I think that's what happened with the Civil War arc, which was when I drifted from comic books. What pulled me back into comic books was a Civil War arc.
Yep.
And so why I might love it so much is because it was written in that time that I was like, I love comic books, and that one made me realize that Marvel is all connected.
Yeah.
Like before, Marvel to me wasn't connected, and that's what
that showed how the world
connected.
Yeah, that's understandable.
And so that's what
do you got?
I got for the longest time I thought his name was SOULE.
Okay.
It's just Soul, but it's Charles Soule.
Yeah.
My wife introduced me to him honestly because he's an author as well. What Stanley used to call a real author.
Yeah, right.
Because he writes actual books, The Oracle, a couple other books. I haven't got a chance to read any of those yet, but my wife has recommended to me, and I think she's bought them to me on digital, so I can actually read the books.
Eventually get around to it, yeah.
But he's doing the current Star Wars run.
Yep.
He did some Star Wars High Republic book.
Yep.
So not just the
comic
books,
but
the actual book that goes around with the High Republic. But he's doing Undiscovered Country. He did some Death of Wolverine stuff in Orlando series a number of years ago, back in 2015 when the new Star Wars got released.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, there's actually a Scotty Young variant from that.
Yes, there is. I happen to own both covers.
Yes, and I don't know. There's something about his writing. Again, same thing. It's just one of those things I want to pick up the next issue, and he can write. I just listed off Star Wars, Undiscovered Country. If anybody hasn't read that yet, it's a post-apocalyptic American story with some sci-fi in it and stuff like that.
I say a lot of sci-fi. You really enjoy that series quite a bit.
I do. It's funny. I have drifted tiny bit from it. It's gone from being first 2 or 3 issues being like, this is unbelievable. Writing's still great. I think the writing's still great. It's become to the point where it's like, you don't remember you're in the United States of America anymore.
Okay.
It's gotten so sci-fi-ish.
So far out.
That it's hard to believe now, if that makes any sense.
So I was very, very interested in that series. And as I'm reading it, I get to a page where the sci-fi really starts.
Yep.
I think you know exactly what page I'm probably talking about. And I was done.
Yep.
I could not go any further. I kept reading, kind of forcing myself, and I put it down. And I still have the trade I haven't gone back to. I couldn't. I don't know. It lost me.
But part of me is probably because I read this far.
Love it.
Because I've read this far and I like the author.
Yeah.
Then I'm thinking maybe it'll be saved.
It'll get you back in.
It'll get me back in. And like I said, my wife's the same way. She's like, she loved the author. She's like, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
And so I bought issue 1 here, and she read it, and I own the 5 different variants from the first one. I love this series, and again, it drifted a little bit. And same thing happened with me with Post Americana. Again, first issue, second issue were like post-Americana,
It was huge.
post-apocalyptic
when that
America.
came out, it was very big.
And again, we're now whatever number of issues in. I think
5 or 6.
there's like 7.
6, something like that.
Yeah, 7 issues in 7th issue, and I'm like, gosh, now they went like, and I guess it's probably me looking for another Walking Dead.
Well, I mean, I guess I can see that with you.
You know what I mean? Like,
That
looking
makes sense.
for
knowing
that next like
your love of Walking Dead. makes sense.
post-apocalyptic, and that's where we are.
Sure.
Living in a post-apocalyptic world, and we're trying to live in that world. Now it's like they went to that point, and now they're like aliens. So not aliens, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Charles, he has the ability to do Star Wars outer space,
Mm.
kind of leveled down. Wolverine,
Yep.
Lando, like he has this ability. He writes books about post-apocalyptic stuff. So
I will say I enjoyed his Wolverine series. I've read that one. It was
and so
good.
I think
It was
he's
good.
got a future. I think he's done Hulk stuff before too. Like I didn't write that down, but like he's done Incredible Hulk issues. He's it was one of the weird things. And Taylor said it, and I was like looking on Marvel Unlimited, and they you can search for artists or authors on there, and I
Sure.
was like, oh my god, he did this. I was like, it was the coolest thing.
Yeah, just
And he
one.
didn't do big runs,
Right.
but he did small
Little
issues.
individual pieces
Yes,
here and there.
and that's one of those cool things I talked to you about. Key Comic Collector. They have a
Mhm.
lot of that stuff now too. Where they wrote their first Marvel
Yeah.
or whatever DC
Yeah, it's in
work.
their first book.
And you would be surprised
Excuse me.
with a lot of artists or authors out there where their first
Yeah, where they
writing
popped
was.
up first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like
Makes
they
you wonder, did they get that? Is something that the gig was like just
Try-
happened to land in their lap, or did they search it out, or something they really felt passionate about?
or were they like, hey, I'll give you this little. The writer dropped off this book. Rate this book. If you do well, we'll give you another series.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
Charles Soule
It'd be a great thing to discuss. With
is
all these,
one of
writers.
my favorite writers now out there. And again, it might be that more current thing that a lot of these artists are writing current books that are on the shelves that I like to read. And I think the new Star Wars run has been great. I think it took me a second to get past the fact that what Adam would want me to do is get past the Skywalker thing, but like,
yeah.
but then I got back into it with something like this, which is like filling in spots and stuff like that. Like
That's just something I love about Star Wars comics. I tell people is as long as you have like I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan out there. I enjoy Star Wars. I watched it as a kid. It's part of my childhood thing. But as long as you have some knowledge of it, these comics fill in all these gaps, and you didn't realize how many gaps were there until these creators were managed to really work hard to, I'm sure, because eventually stuff starts getting filled in, and you have to stay in a timeline. And they managed to find spots to put these great stories in of what happened in between.
Because I mean, most
And
movies,
it's cool, yeah.
most movies don't go. The movie ended, and the next movie is like the end of the last movie. Now There's a few that are like close to that on the Star Wars movies, but they're like there's gaps.
There's a gap that's removed. But as you watch the movies originally, you don't really notice or care. I don't.
No.
Think. Your mind fills in.
And you're
that,
fine
okay,
with it. You're like,
yeah,
okay,
you're great.
people
But-
live life. You're only getting a documentarian
Little view.
visual of this person's
Yeah.
life. And so what Charles has been able to do, and other Star Wars authors have been able to do, is fill those gaps in and not deviate or pull from the story from the movies.
Absolutely.
And then there's the High Republic, which is not Charles, but like then they don't tell a story outside of the Skywalker
Right.
trilogy or trilogy. What's it called? Skywalker Saga.
So yeah, go Saga. There you go.
That pulled me in again to see if it's not Charles.
Sure.
I was just saying, like, there is able to build you have the framework, but you move around it.
Yep.
So Charles Soule, not Soule. Don't know the E at the end of it.
Yeah, that would
threw
throw
me
me off
off,
too. Yeah,
so
it's
it's
understandable.
What a 4-pack. I think I'm gonna have another one.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. All right, so my next writer, which was an easy one for me, was thank you, sir. Was
Label out.
label out.
No, it can't. Yours is not able to do it. Mine is.
Oh yeah, I can't. That's not
Colton.
gonna happen. Colton, come on, man. Quality control, buddy. Man, he's got his name dropped quite a bit in this one.
He likes it, I think.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think tomorrow or not tomorrow. Actually, I say tomorrow. Tomorrow, as in tomorrow, from when this episode drops,
Yeah.
which is next week. But or not next week, but you know what I mean.
Right.
And he'll say something to me probably. We should
all right.
guest star.
Yeah, that'd be a great guest star. Get Colton in here.
We have to do every single list we've done so far. We're just gonna sit there and listen to his lists.
And then
So every list we've done, top female, top artist,
All of
all those story arcs, he has to bring all of those top 10s to the table. Be a long one.
he's gonna have a lot of homework. So my next writer is Jeff Loeb.
Okay, yep.
I've talked about Long Halloween. I mean, I absolutely love it. The Long Halloween, which is a miniseries in and of itself to a degree. There's in trade format 3 trades because you can get into like Dark Victory after there. It keeps not necessarily going, but it's kind of same universe base, and it keeps going. I absolutely love it. Spider-Man Blue I've talked about before, and Daredevil Yellow that really impacted me. I would say any Marvel fan, anyone that wants to try getting into something that's comic related that may not, you don't have to have a deep knowledge to the character. You don't have to worry about what happened in the story arc before the story arc is coming, any of the rest of it. Spider-Man Blue is an amazing read. It has a lot of feeling to it, a lot of depth to it. I love Jeff's work. I will say the more of the color sequence stories that I've read, Grey Hulk, I kind of lost on a little bit of it. And I actually haven't, I picked up Captain America White and I read the first issue and I haven't gone back to it. I have the trade that I will get to eventually, but I have, much as you said, with a few writers, I've kind of fallen a little bit.
I have Captain America White, but I think it's the only one I have is because when I sign up, whenever that came out,
quite a while ago,
almost 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 6 years ago, somewhere
at
like
least, I remember.
And
it was in 2015,
somewhere around there. I got, because that's when I think I signed up for the year premium package for Marvel Unlimited.
Sure.
And that's when you sign up for the package, they give you like an action figure and a comic book.
Yep.
And I got the Marvel Unlimited variant
of
cool. Captain America White.
Yep.
That's the only one I have. Is the only one I've actually like flipped through.
Nice.
I actually haven't read it either, but like.
Did you have the Scotty Young cover?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm getting to the point now where I don't remember. Like I have it on here.
I got hit in the head a lot. So I mean, there's I generally still know all my Scotties, but it's a tough one.
Well, man, dude, there's some that I like add to the cart because I know you don't. So I buy all my comic books here. Let's just make a point here. Is when I buy a new comic book, 99.9% of the time I buy it here, unless Paul sells out and he can't get it.
Right, for some reason.
It's fine. Or Scotty Young. Like it's hard because if a Scotty Young comes in that we both don't have, you are gonna get it, which I don't have a problem with.
Right. I appreciate.
So I do buy online some comic books, and sometimes I'll add them to the cart on like Midtown Comics or whatever, and I'll go awesome, and then I'll be like, before I hit submit,
is there? And
I'll go and like 3 of them, I'll be like, I already have this comic book. It's just like, but I don't know if I have. What is it? While we're
he has a little there's a little cap coming at you that's his own take on it. Well, it was funny because we talked about having them, and I assumed that I had the Galactic cover that I have tattooed on my arm.
Yes.
I assumed I had it because it was such an impactful piece of art to me when I saw it, and it wasn't until I was like, oh my god, how am I forgetting Galactus? I gotta have a tattoo of Galactus done.
Oh yeah.
And then I went through and looked, I'm like, I don't even own it. And I had to track down a copy, which was much harder than I thought it was going to be.
It's like $8 on eBay.
Oh, see, there you go.
That one's pretty badass.
I have that one too. I love that. Yeah, that's another tattoo that, sorry, Jay, Cap is going to have to work his way on here somewhere.
Cool.
But anyway, yeah, going back to Jeph Loeb. I really enjoy his writing. I feel like there's a lot of depth to it that you may not get necessarily in comics. If you want some feeling, some drama more to it maybe, I feel like Jeff's writing really captures a lot of that. He did a Hulk run that I was really excited for, that I'm going to get back to. I've enjoyed pieces of, I didn't love, but he has to go on my list, if nothing else, purely for Long Halloween and my absolute love of that book.
And that's a hard thing when I was thinking about it. It's like if you fall so far in love with a specific series and everything else they've done has been like,
yeah.
Are they one of your favorite writers? And I think they are. I don't think it matters if they have anything else.
Right.
You could have come to the table right now and been like, I like Long Halloween.
And I'm done.
That's it. Like, that's it. Okay, then he could be one of your favorite writers of all time. Because if you think about it, I know people out there who have written like 1 or 2 novels.
Yeah.
And it's someone's favorite author. It's like all they've written is 2 books.
Right.
They don't have to be Stephen King to be your favorite author because they've written hundreds of books.
Right.
They can write 1 or 2 books and be amazing at it. It doesn't have to be.
Author. Yeah, it makes sense. Too.
It's the same thing with some people like Chris Carter, who created the X-Files.
Okay, yep.
And the X-Files are one of my favorite TV shows of all time. That's basically all he's ever done.
Right.
He's been like executive producers on some things. He's done other things, obviously. Sure. But nothing that's been like a home run like X-Files have been. Sure. So like, could he be one of my favorite TV show creators? Yeah. He created 1 9-season, or whatever it is now, technically 11 or 12 seasons because of the reboot, but like
Yeah.
show still can be one of my favorite TV creators.
I think when
Like if you came and said Jeff Loeb was one of your favorite writers because of Long Halloween, you don't have to care. You have to defend yourself.
Right. I think what got me was following him into Marvel
Yes.
and that depth. And I think it was Steve Yitka had written about how he made the effect and feel into Gwen Stacy's death, and how much like feeling got poured into the work that wasn't in the original writing when it was simply, oh, we killed the character. And that is like amazing to me to think that someone who wrote this and created this can be impressed by someone else's rendition of it. So I don't know. Jeff Loeb was a no-brainer for me to go on my list.
Awesome. Gonna read Long Halloween at some point too. Won't go into how many times I've heard for Long Halloween. It's one of those books that I think that I will read. I just don't know when.
It's an easy, quick recommendation.
That's the other thing about being a comic book fan. Is like there's just too much shit to read.
Oh, there's so much. And by the way, as I have started reading Omnibus now, poor life choice in the fact that an average omnibus is close to 1,000, if not over 1,000 pages. Now you've really committed to one single book to read, which I'm reading Annihilation currently. I absolutely love it. But oh my God, that's a lot of reading.
Yes. You're absolutely right about that. It's the number of books that I'm trying to read. And there's definitely books where I just been like, Marvel books where I'm just like, okay, that's cool. I love it. Can't wait to read it. Gonna wait until they cancel the series or
deeper whatever.
And then there's other ones. Again, it's probably the writers. If I was still, Strange Academy, I'm up. Right. Every issue comes out, I want to read it because it's Undiscovered Country. Every issue comes out, I read it because of the artist, the author that's behind it.
Yep.
Writing it. So number three, the third person on my list that I have picked for this list because of this podcast that I've been listening to has convinced me basically that he's on my list, and that's Al Ewing, and that's current stuff. I can see that, again, you came to the table with just Jeff Loeb being on. If I came to the table right now and just said Immortal Hulk, and done, mic drop, see you later. That is literally in the past 2 years have been one of the best comic books that I've read in my life. It is. We're getting up close to 49. Just came out. 50's coming up, and then bam, done. Which is pretty cool. I would love to see an Immortal Hulk movie. I think that would be very well and easily done if they or a TV show if they work with it well, Disney Plus or whatever it might be. And I think Al Ewing would have to be on set. Oh God, whether it's executive producer, help writing the script, or whatever it may be. There's something about his writing that he brought the horror back to Hulk. Yes, he brought the horror back to Hulk. You feel for Hulk. Mm-hmm. You also hate Hulk. Mm-hmm. You have these emotions that you don't know what's going on. And there's times where I've actually gotten I'm just gonna pick a random issue, but it's not their issue. Issue 26, I get, and I think I read it 3 times. Wow. Not because I had to read it, because I had to read it 3 times. It was a Fight Club-esque. It was the idea that you didn't get everything on the first pass through. Yeah. I read it. Okay, cool. I read it again to see some of the art that goes with it. Then I read it again to understand what was going on, and I'm like, okay, finally I understand this comic book. And not because it was badly written, it's because it was just so much going on in it. That's just amazing. This is the first time I ever read one that I felt really bad for Bruce Banner. Yes. Wow. It puts a concept of his life. It really drives you home of what his life is living with the Hulk. Mm-hmm. Because they're 2 different people sharing the same body. And imagine what that's like to live with. It's painful, it's miserable. And in the Avengers, I'm a big MCU fan. I'm going to drop back on this. One of the Avengers films, was it Avengers? That he says he swallowed the bullets, he tried to kill himself. Yeah. This is what the entire Immortal Hulk basically is the fact that he can't die. The first Avenger. Yes. Movie, he can't die. Actually, Hulk is if he dies during the day, because this is the idea is that more the Jekyll and Hyde, the more the werewolf. Yeah, it goes back to the original Hulk. Yes. The original Hulk was a Jekyll and Hyde sort of but a monster in the night story. Yes. At night in the original he only came out at night. Yes. And it gives you that idea of this. Once he falls asleep, once the night comes, basically Hulk was like, "You're not going anywhere." And if he shot himself in the head, he spit the bullets out. And he became alive. Doesn't do you any good. But not only is he writing that, he's also writing the freaking Guardians of the Galaxy right now, which is amazing. Yep. And so he's killing that. He did the Empire series. He's done Valkyrie Jane Foster, which I thought was a pretty cool take on the Valkyrie aspect of it. And he's just now moving over after finishing Immortal Hulk number 50 to write Venom.
Yep.
And so
I think that'll be exciting. That'll be an interesting take. And Dan Slott, who's currently doing Venom, is going to swap with him and go to Hulk. And I'm excited about both.
All the stuff. I think it's cool. Fantastic. And I think it's one of those things. I actually like the idea of Marvel doing that in the future. Like, this person's been good on this comic book. We're going to do X amount of issues with this person. Yeah. Let's move him over to a title that is doing great, but not maybe doing as well as the other one, and see if that person can bring that love to it. And what's going to happen is he's going to bring the same exact style.
Yeah, it's going to follow.
But
it's funny because Venom and Hulk are very much the same character. In fact, they're two completely different beings sharing one body, one space. And it'll be. I think that'll be an easy transition, and I would love. I mean, Venom. Anybody that knows Venom character he's another very much a horror character. I mean, he's a terrifying entity if you run into this. This is not something you want to run into on the street, especially if you're a criminal. Because he kills. He doesn't feel bad about it at all. You know how many times he threatened to eat someone's spleen? I mean,
so I'm just excited to see that, and what I will add to the whole aspect of Immortal Hulk, which I love so much, is that the cover's been done by Alex Ross. So you add on that.
Yeah, there's some amazing covers and some really great homage covers, throwbacks, a lot of great stuff.
And I don't think the book was expected to take off as much as it was supposed to.
I don't think so either. I think that was, and of course I don't know, who knows, but it seemed like that was originally being written as a potential kind of one-shot done miniseries almost, and instead it's.
Well, I honestly think issue 2 in the speculation market helped.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
And then sales started going up and people wanting it and stuff like that. But then people started reading it.
Yeah.
And that was where it came. It's like people bought it and then they started reading it and they're like, oh, it's not just the first appearance of Dr. Fry. It is a good comic book.
I got synced. I got completely hook, line, sinker with the first issue. Issue 1 just got me.
I can't believe that. I blinked and it was from issue 1 to issue 50. But they also were coming out faster than a lot of other comic books. Immortal Hulk. It was a lot like Spider-Man. Yeah, the aspect of it was 2 per month instead of 1 per month. So, but I still can't imagine that. So he wrote 2 Immortal Hulks a month and is hitting a Guardians of the Galaxy a month, and he wrote the Spider Empire series,
which Empire was a very large.
And so my idea, and he's actually what I would say when we talked about earlier about architects.
Yep.
I think he would be he's a future architect for Marvel. He builds the world, the whole stories. He's the Jonathan Hickman.
Yep.
And him.
I think I found somebody that works more than I do, maybe.
And so neither one of us have Jonathan Hickman our thing.
Nope.
I honestly think
I'm surprised that you don't.
I like Jonathan Hickman. I love his X-Men stuff. But I also feel like he is the executive producer more than he is the writer. Also think that I read comic books for pictures and word bubbles, and Jonathan Hickman has way too many pages explaining stuff that weren't drawn.
Yeah,
there's a lot more. Like if you don't, because there's times where I read, like when I first started reading the new X-Men series that he came out with when they killed everything and they
they did the Hawks and Pox.
Yeah, and so which I didn't know. It's it's Powers of X. What was it? Powers of X? What was it?
House of X and Powers.
House of X and Powers of 10.
Powers of 10, yeah.
I didn't know. I was like, Powers of X. I'm like, that's so freaking confusing. They're X-Men. You're Powers of 10.
Yeah.
But when I started reading that, I got really confused on a lot of stuff. It's because I was honestly being lazy and skipping over the pages that had.
Oh, that's poor choice.
It is. It was. Yeah. But it's like, to me, I was like, if I want to read a book, I'll read a book.
Go read a book. Right?
And so like that's part of the reason why I don't like Jonathan Hickman as a writer. I think he's a great architect. Like he can create worlds to build things around, let other writers write the actual stories.
He has a very large story that sometimes you have to get through all of it to go back and see where a lot of it made sense. I think Grant Morrison writes a lot like that. You can read Grant Morrison, and I being a Batman guy, I read almost every major Batman story arc. And reading Grant Morrison's stuff, I'm like, what the hell am I even looking at half the time? And by the time you get to the end of it, you're like, oh, okay. But you almost have to read it a second time so you can see and appreciate what was going on in it. Because while you're reading it, you're like, what am I looking at? What is happening? None of this seems to be coherent. But Hickman, I feel Hickman can be that way a lot. So it's in his writing. It's great when you get done with it. It's amazing. And some people, I'm sure, really appreciate that story of having. Because it's a deeper level of it. It's not just in your face. It's not just capes and punches. It's a very deep, and when you get to the end of the story, you go, aha. But not everybody appreciates it.
Correct. And so it's him. I think the 3 architects that I could see happening, 2 of them are guaranteed right now for Marvel for the future, and one of them is that one coming up, which he's been a writer for a little while, but now is Al Ewing, Jonathan Hickman, and Donny Cates. Yeah, those 3 people. Donny Cates is also one of my honorable mentions. I think he's great. I think he's got a little bit of work to do. Me judging a comic book artist or author that I don't do, but you know what I mean. For me,
watching the Olympics and being like, oh really? Yeah, I could have landed
that. Me personally, I think that he has some great writing. His work on Venom recently was great. God's Country was great.
Yep.
And so he does do some great. He has some great books, and he's a great writer. Yeah. I think he could be the future of an architect. So if Marvel just put their money behind Al Ewing, Jonathan Hickman, and Donny Cates for architects, again. The only person that they're writing a lot is Al Ewing. But
I would say honorable mentions. I'd have to say Dan Slott would be honorable mention. His Spider-Verse work is something I absolutely love. And I've gone back and I'm actually reading some more of his Spider-Man stuff right now. It's incredible.
I have 3 more honorable mentions that I'll mention at the end, or they might come up.
Yeah.
It's funny how
well,
2 of my honorable mentions have actually come up in the actual conversation, which is great.
See, well, that was Dan Slott. So my last one is the one that we both have on the same list.
Yes.
Is Brian Michael Bendis, who I think we've already talked about in previous podcasts of how much we absolutely love his work. His Guardians of the Galaxy to me is some of the most fun superhero reading you can have. I just completely love his work. It's always, I don't even know how to describe it. It's always how I want superheroes to be.
Yes.
It's enjoyable, it's exciting, it's action-packed. There's stuff going on everywhere so that it's not kind of only the punch in the face and we move on type story. There's always extras. He's gone through some X-Men stuff. His Ultimate series is amazing. It's just, he's a very all-around enjoyable reader to get a lot of different things happening.
Yes. Simple.
Yeah.
Honestly, it simply goes down to I open the book, read the first bubble.
Yep.
And I blink and I'm at the last bubble.
Yeah.
And it simply goes down to his books are in-depth, have a lot of meat to them, but are easy to read.
Very.
And so like that to me, like I said, that's one of the reasons why I think that Jonathan Hickman has that problem, which to me is like it's a lot more going on.
There is.
Because
Jonathan Hickman can almost be a fantasy writer where you build an entire world to get to the point.
But Bendis
is like, here's stuff.
Point A, point B.
Watch it and enjoy. Here it is.
I mean, House of M. Again, we talked about that. Yep. Secret Invasion, we talked about that. They were on my top favorite story arcs.
Yep.
Siege again. And I think to me it goes back to a lot of these story arc things again. That when we talk about architects for comic book for publishers, I think DC's got an architect there, whereas Bendis is one of the architects over at DC.
Yep.
And so, and then Powers was great. Some of his own personal, independently owned stuff is great too. So, Bendis is just a name that's synonymous with comic books nowadays.
Yeah,
it makes me sad, honestly, as a Marvel fan, that he's not writing the characters that I love.
I can see why Marvel needed to revamp.
I
think it's refreshing. It's good, but
prediction feeling that by 2025 he's back.
I can see that.
Inside of it.
I can see that.
And that's only because he might also get tired writing Superman.
Yeah.
He might get tired of writing that stuff over at DC and be like, I want to touch Miles Morales again.
I want to say that from what I know from the outside perspective, DC can be very difficult to work for currently. So he may be back simply because I don't want to deal with red tape.
Yes.
And that's what I gather DC has a lot of right now. It just is what it is.
But I mean, honestly, I could go on and on and on about Brian Michael Bendis. It's simple to go and you look at a lot of the top series, story arcs, and books that came out from 99 to 2015, 16, whenever he was gone.
Yeah.
He's touched.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And he does so much at once.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable how many projects he has going on.
And TV. I mean, he does. Yes. He's even involved in the MCU stuff.
And so he basically said, I listened to a podcast recently on the sketch podcast called Off Panel. He doesn't do just one project at a time because of the fact that he wants to wake up, and if he doesn't feel that project, he does the other one.
I mean, and that's a great thing
because that makes you good at what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And so
you're bringing your best to that piece today.
Yes. And so we'll finish up here. We actually only did 4. We'll do one last one first before we go
got
over
one
there.
spare too.
So I have got one that actually probably is 1A, 1B with Brian Michael Bendis, and it goes back to that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's this AB, again 1A, 1B part of his thing.
Yeah.
He makes everything he touches. I really like.
I know this
but there's this one project, and it's The Walking Dead. It's Robert
Yep.
Kirkman, and so Robert Kirkman, I think, again, it's the exact same thing with Brian Michael Bendis. Is that when I pick up an issue of Walking Dead that I've read 10 times each issue,
mm-hmm.
I can pick up issue 15 and read, and all of a sudden I know I'm on issue 27. And how I got there, I blink and I'm like, oh my god, it's 2:00 in the fucking morning, and I'm still reading The Walking Dead, and I've already read it. And
now, are you reading it again
show.
now in color? Are you reading the colors?
So here's the issue I had with that is that I got because it's coming out every 2 weeks.
Yep.
And so originally I was like, oh, that's what I'll do. I'll read it every 2 weeks. It'll be great, so on and so forth. So I did that for the first. We're on issue 20 just came out of Walking Dead Deluxe.
Yep.
I got to the point where I read every 2 weeks, and then I got issue 3 or 4, and I was like, screw this, I need to read more, and I just started reading the old issues again. And so what I do now is The Walking Dead Deluxe is I'll get it and I'll slowly and easily with cover A.
Yeah. Give it a look.
Glance.
Yeah, look.
See what
the color.
What
is
does the world look like in color? And then at the very back of Walking Dead Deluxe right now, they do Robert Kirkman has some of his original storylines and his plots and his character names and all that kind of cool.
That's a nice
stuff
little throw in for
it
for someone to pick up a book
correct.
They already have read.
And then I keep going back to that. If I get to the point where I get at bed at night and I've got a couple of comic books digitally or unlimited, and I'm laying in bed trying to fall asleep, there's sometimes I'll pick up a book and I'll go to Unlimited and I'll be like, you know what? There's an old Thanos series I want to read, and I'll get 3 pages in and I'm like, screw this.
I love some of the old Thanos stuff.
Which is Thanos.
No,
me.
yeah.
And then I'll go out and I'll go, oh, Kirkman. I gotta read some Kirkman. That will make me read 6 issues. I'll go to bed. It'll be great. And that's what it is. It was Walking Dead for the longest time.
Yeah.
And then I started reading recently Firepower,
mm-hmm.
which is great. And I was gonna bring this up earlier about how I was trying to write comic books.
Yeah.
And creating stories. He's getting a lot of shit right now saying it's basically Iron Fist. And so, but he's like, it's not. It's different. Right. And and all this other stuff. Right. But here's the deal: Invincible.
Mm-hmm.
Was an amazing, and I've only read about 5 issues of the actual book. I heard the TV show is unreal.
Yeah, I've heard the TV show is very good. I haven't watched the TV show.
I laughed because he was on an interview I heard from him. He was like, "Hey, Amazon, we're gonna make this comic book TV show. You cool? Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, we'll do it."
And he goes, "It's gonna be it's pretty graphic. I mean, Invincible's pretty graphic. That's cool. We'll do it. It's gonna be animated. Okay, yeah, we can do that. It's gonna be an hour long. Yeah, sure, it's cool. We'll do that." And he's just like, he never had a roadblock at Amazon.
They were just
like, Kirkman, you have done 11 seasons of The Walking Dead, and you've made how much money for AMC?
Right?
We'll give you the keys.
Anything. Doesn't matter what you want.
And then he did Marvel Zombies. Again, if you look back on it, with coming up with right now, the week that this actually comes out and drops is going to be the first episode of What If? And there'll be some Marvel Zombies on there. And he was one of the first writers of Marvel Zombies. So Kirkman can do no wrong, in my opinion, and I think he's got a lot of plates. He's the CFO or CCO?
CFO, if I remember correctly.
Of Image.
Of Image, yes.
And hopefully so he's there, and he's one of the C's of Image.
Yes. He's far higher in Image than you and I will ever be.
And so he's obviously got some input on what Image does.
If anyone, including the guy that works in the mailroom, listens to this podcast at Image, that's great for us. Yes, that's did you know? But it's funny because the guy that took the trash out at Image Comics listened to our podcast.
So Invincible's an Image comic, right? Firepower is Image comic. Obviously, everything's Image comic. Yes, because he's not going to put anything else anywhere else, unless he was asked to do Marvel Zombies. But he got the job as CFO or COE or whatever it is. Because of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And it was a comic book that he thought he made in black and white.
Yep.
It's every other thing he ever tried to get made. He put a bunch of effort in and got 3 issues. He printed 3 issues and it got canceled. And he said, well, you know what? If I make it black and white in the middle and the inside,
at
least if it's black and white and it's cheaper to make, maybe I'll get 10 issues.
Maybe we'll keep going.
and then it went 193 issues, and he ended it on his own.
Yep.
And so I give him credit. I love his writing.
It's impressive.
Kirkman, I would love to meet him. Out of all the people on the list, even Bendis, I'd probably like to meet Kirkman more than any of the other people. And I honestly,
SKOTTIE Young's my top.
Oh, SKOTTIE, but I think SKOTTIE Young goes in the artist thing. I think if I'm saying for writers wise, I have a book signed by Brian Michael Bendis. I don't have anything signed by Kirkman, and I want something signed by Kirkman.
On our list, I'd go Brian Michael Bendis.
I have actually, if you think about for the 5 people, I have a Brian Michael Bendis autograph.
Very nice.
I have a Charles Soule autograph. I have a SKOTTIE Young autograph. No Al Ewings and no Robert Kirkman.
The only actually signed books I have of I think is SKOTTIE Young. I don't think I have anyone else. I have before bid on Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale work, which by the way generally go for ridiculous amounts. If you find something that's signed by both of them, and I don't think I've ever landed one. So
Iron Man 600 technically, but was it 600 or was it? What's the one? It's Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
In 2000. I forget what it was. It was like Iron Man, like Legacy 600 or 700 or 800, whatever it is.
Was it 800?
800.
Yeah, it was 800.
When Brian Michael Bendis is one of his final issues he ever wrote for Marvel, that I have signed by Brian Michael Bendis.
I think you brought that in one time.
Yes, and it's I love that book, and it's but SKOTTIE Young, I've bought things. I have, and actually at CGC right now I have my Nova #1.
Very nice.
Getting ready to be slab. My first. I don't have a slab comic book. It's my first slab comic book.
Whoa.
Back, and I sent it out myself, and it's being signed. And it's
very
pretty cool.
nice. Very impressive.
You have one more, and then we can finish up.
Yep. So I had somehow skipped over on my list here. Geoff Johns, who did a lot of DC work of Rebirth stuff, and his Rebirth recreation, refreshing of characters, of origins, maybe. Absolutely incredible. I love Geoff Johns. If you want to read DC, which we're trying to,
I'm not gonna hate on you. I will make fun of you and make jokes there. DC's horrible, but other than that, it's fine. And the only thing good at DC right now is Naomi anyway. So.
Oh boy. This is such a. Anyways.
Superman, some issues of Superman. It's only because of Brian Michael Bendis.
And I personally would have to go with Superman sucks. I collect issues of Batman beating Superman. Anytime I have an issue with somewhere of Batman beating Superman's ass, that's going to be my personal collection. But Geoff Johns, I particularly love his Green Lantern work. Anything from Rebirth all the way through Blackest Night that he wrote is amazing. Probably, once again, this has been discussed numerous times by me on these podcasts, is how much I love his writing, his work. The way he could take characters that were getting stale or misplaced or lost, or however you may want to say it, they just got too deeply wound into things, and he could say, okay, let's kind of clean the slate, like Hickman had done with X-Men. Let's just get fresh slate, clean this off, and start fresh, and to bring a level of depth to it and interest to the character. Fantastic. So there you go. There's my Geoff Johns DC spiel, which I'm sure you will absolutely love. Boy, as a comic book store owner, I got to tell you, I am getting messaged a lot, so that's a good thing.
About your books that are not in yet, or
no? These are unfortunately, so no one knows listening to this probably that we had a horrible week this week with our shipping. It was late and is still currently missing one of our boxes that contains who knows what, but a lot.
Because you love Diamond distributors, right?
Okay. Before I had nothing bad to say about Diamond. I would never slam them. I was doing great with them. Besides the occasional, wow, guys, you could have packaged this a little more carefully. This particular week, and this is the second time it's happened in the recent history. I'm ready to lose it. Seriously, guys, you're killing me. And I just made a rather large announcement that we won't get into on this about my life in the comic store. But you're doing this to me now, exactly. Now of all the times. No, I don't know what we got. We got people after magic cards and all sorts of shenanigans. So,
because it's Galactic Comics and
Collectibles.
So I guess I'll just run quickly through Declan Shalvey, who has been writing the Time Before Time series that just came out on Image, which is unbelievable.
I haven't had a chance to read it. I know you and Colton both love it.
I love it, and he's an artist. He's a SKOTTIE Young. He's an artist who then also writes, but he's actually been writing more than he's been drawing.
Very cool.
And which I really like. Time Before Time is great. He's done some Deadpool work. He's done some other work for Marvel. He likes writing his own stuff better than he does working for publishers like Marvel.
Yeah.
Nothing about Marvel, but just
Well, I mean, anytime you can have your free creation reign. I mean, right?
And then I don't think it's a good episode without naming the fact that The Aggregate's a great comic book as well.
Oh, we got to mention Ben, right?
Ben Bishop on here. And honestly, we talked about it the other day. Is that with I think it was Colton and I about how Kevin Eastman draws.
Yes.
I think his art is unique to Kevin Eastman.
That's a very good way to put it. Yes, that's a very good way of putting it. When you see a Kevin Eastman, you know it's Kevin Eastman.
Same with SKOTTIE Young. You know it's a SKOTTIE Young. I think SKOTTIE Youngs are good.
There's a lot of people that don't like SKOTTIE Young's work. They don't like the covers that you and I both passionately collect and love. There's a lot of people that go, I don't really like this.
But I like his writing. I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the whole idea behind it, the whole history behind it. I think there's some storylines that have been gone out with the TMNT, IDW,
world,
Nickelodeon crap. But I honestly think that brought me back into TMNT and brought me back into the idea that Kevin Eastman is an unbelievable writer is The Last Ronin. And so I can't get past the fact that Last Ronin is so good and so well done that Kevin Eastman has to be an honorable mention.
I think that's a very fair. Yes, absolutely.
So great. So I talked SKOTTIE Young, I talked Charles Soule, Al Ewing, and Robert Kirkman. We both talked SKOTTIE Young and Brian Michael Bendis, and you brought up
Jeff Jones, Jeff Loeb, and James Tynion.
So those are great artists. Sorry. Something artist thing.
Well, the creators,
writers, creators, and that's the funny thing. It's like a lot of these people are comic book creators because Bendis can also draw.
Yeah,
and so I'm sure if you put some pen and paper in front of Al Ewing, he can draw. And Charles Soule also worked on swear words.
Nice.
Or curse words, I should say. Curse words. And I have the omnibus of that, and I got that from him. He does not draw, but some of the Kickstarter bonus things were him actually drawing,
sketching,
which is awesome.
That's
which
cool.
is like one of the coolest things I can think is I would imagine having a sketch from a person who can't draw, but it's also a writer. That's like a one of a kind
thing. That's pretty cool, yeah. Absolutely.
And so it's pretty cool on that aspect of it too.
That's like
I didn't mention curse words with Charles Soule, but that's also good.
I remember seeing Stan Lee doing little scribbles of Spider-Man's head because it's like the only thing he could draw.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's like having a cool thing.
Yeah.
But,
one more that I would have to mention real quick, Joe Hill.
Yeah.
I don't know. He wasn't on my list. I had 5 honorable mentions of Joe Hill. It's Joe Hill. Yeah. You need to say more.
Yeah. and there's honestly goes on.
We could do this all. Sure.
But I think that like boiling it down to 10, or in our case technically 8.
Right.
Writers is again, I think writers get overlooked because a lot of people collect comic books because of the
cover alone,
and a lot of people don't even read them.
Yeah.
So reading these books and getting these in there, and Mark Miller is another one that he wrote the Civil War series.
Frank
Miller. But Mark Miller is the one that wrote the comic book, the Civil War series, and I would give him credit for it. But again, he'd have to be brought to the table right here for
Civil War.
So, but other than that, I think he's a great artist, a great author as well. But read these books. I recommend them.
Nope.
Anything you honestly, again, shop at your local comic book store. But if you want to get a little touch on these things, and you do have Marvel Unlimited. For my authors, a lot of them are on Marvel Unlimited. Search for them. Find it. If you like it, buy the trade. Come and get here at Hammond Street at Galactic Comics. Yeah. Message Paul on Facebook. You don't live in Bangor and you want to buy something. This guy will ship it to you.
I ship countrywide.
I
ship beyond countrywide.
And I'll be working on I thought about today, this guy, we need to work on a website for this guy. One of the things that I heard the other day from someone on some sort of news article or podcast or interview, if you own a comic book shop and you don't have a website, you're crazy.
I am crazy.
So no, I'm saying we're gonna work on this.
Yeah,
like,
we had the website previous to the store opening, and trying to keep track of all of it in expenses and inventory was just impossible.
It is.
But now based on new events, I think we'll have some more time.
And I think it could be one of those things you don't sell new issues.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff that ends up making it past week or two.
Sure.
You guys looking right now, you have Firepower number 5 right there. Yeah. Fire number 5 could get on there.
Yeah, but Master number 1.
Some of this stuff back here.
Bomb number 1. Yep.
Easily inventoried.
Characters. You do some action figures, some Funko Pops. There's all kinds of cool stuff.
We'll get there. But
we can go through and pick out even just random cool things that throw on the website. Why not?
Because there is websites that I can buy a brand new comic book on.
There's rumors of a Galactic Comic exclusive cover. Rumors, not to say, but
Berserker Bus is pretty cool.
So, you know, one of those things is a great one to move across. The websites would be able to get that exposure across the country. That
just quick thought as I'm looking here. We're in the back room at Galactic Comics here, and I'm looking at some posters on the wall. And why did Keanu Reeves in Berserker get that big of a poster? In King Spawn, and the president of Image Comic Books got the one that's a quarter of the size.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's Keanu Reeves. I mean, I guess if you're gonna go with it, it's Keanu Reeves. I mean,
I'm just looking at him, like looking over there. There's a what, 18 by 20.
Yeah.
Size King Spawn poster, and there's a 20 by 30.
Yeah. Berserker
poster, and I'm just like, the president and one of the founders of Image Comic Books.
You know what? You know what is impressive? I'll throw it to Todd McFarlane too. Who, by the way, you can throw on this list.
I knew that was going to come up at some point on this thing, and that why Todd McFarlane didn't make our top 5 list. I would think that we should do. We actually kind of fun to do a couple issues where we're like, not top 5 worst writers, but top 5 worst things they're bad at comic books, and one of them would be Todd McFarlane can stick to drawing on paper and inks and things like that. We love your art.
Absolutely.
Stop writing.
Sorry.
And he's not writing King Spawn. He's writing some of the backstories on King Spawn. Someone actually else is writing King Spawn.
So as we discussed before, you at one point I think on these podcasts was you getting your black and white Spawn covers, and this the last previous Spawn issue didn't have a black and white to it. But that's something that Todd actually does for comic stores. Is he flips the bill for that. Yeah. He even pays the shipping to the comic stores. You get an additional credit later on for some change there or whatever to cover the cost of those books being sent to you. So it's amazing as far as comic world goes. Oh. So who knows? That may be something that, you know, Todd paid for himself, and that's why.
Or he paid, or he didn't, but he says, you know what? It's going to cost Image $1 more to print that poster.
Right.
Making it 20 by 30 instead of 18 by 20, and that's why we did it that way. But
yeah.
Todd is a pioneer. So if we did top 10 pioneers in comic books,
it's easy.
Todd McFarlane is one of those people.
I actually had a thought the other day of your favorite moments, which would lead to spoilers, but I'm assuming by our favorite moments, there's gonna be stuff people. Yeah. If you haven't read it by now, sorry, you spoiler alert. But I thought that'd be a cool one. It's just your favorite moments, those ones that got you, those impacts.
Yes.
You know, so that was something I thought would be a cool one to cover.
And, you know, a lot of those are gonna be things like, you know, Brian Michael Bendis is gonna be in that list. Robert Kirkman's gonna be on that list.
But as far as that. You know, that aha moment in a comic. Those ones that you have to tell somebody about.
Yes.
Those ones where I look over at my wife, I'm like, look at this. And she's like, that's great, hon.
Is that aha moment that Skybound X number 4 or
not
5?
That Skybound. no, not that aha moment.
I was like, we were sitting there waiting to record, and I'll explain this a little bit, and I wanted to give it away a little bit, but we were waiting to record, and I opened up Skybound X. So Skybound X is a small miniseries that came out, 5-part miniseries, with some extravagant stories that come from some different Skybound based books for the 10th anniversary.
Yep.
So there's like Walking Dead, there's Rick Grimes 2000.
Yep.
It's Rick Grimes in the future, and it's
Ultra Mega.
There's a bunch of stuff.
All kinds of stuff.
So a thing, and there's just, it looks like Ursula.
Yeah.
From Disney's Mermaid.
Yeah.
With her boobs out, and I was just like. And I'm looking on the cover, I'm like, oh, finally it says mature on the back of it. But I'm like, out of all Skybound
and that's the page
X.
Crack it right open to you.
I should say Skybound X. It's probably Skybound 10, if you think about it. Because we talked
actually, I mentioned probably this. I've been saying Skybound X too all the time. It probably is Skybound 10.
But yeah, so it was just the weirdest thing. So is that an aha moment? Would that technically make the list?
I guess if you have to, but I'm more thinking those ones that got you that passionate as you're reading the story. I love this right here, the scene, this particular one, you can describe it. You know, maybe even do a little bit of visual aid to it. Yes. But those moments that get you, you know what I mean?
Not Ursula's boobs.
Not Ursula's boobs, which was an aha moment.
I'll tell you what, guys, the definition of all men like boobs, these were not boobs you're going to look at. I'm telling you right now. Robert Kirkman, I don't know what you're doing over at Skybound, but this is not what we want to hear. And so I'd love to finish it up. So that was great. Our writers, our favorite writers. So I think, again, not enough credit gives given to writers. Artists get a lot of the credit, which is fine. I think it's a team. It's also things that we don't forget about, and I don't think about, but I don't think we could do a top 10 list on as the letterers. I think that's not an easy job. And so you have those people that can do some really good colorists.
But there's the thing, I couldn't tell you any of the colorists, even though they have a hard job.
No, but so the people get the most credit as writers and artists that we've done. So if you can go back and listen, we've actually done our favorite artists before, and this is our favorite writers. Yep. We'll do others coming up too. I think the next episode we're actually going to talk about just state of the comic books. Kind of like a State of the Union address for the president. This is going to be just a cool, like, what's going on, who's going, what's coming out, what's good books to read. But to give you kind of a preview of that, I wanted to just hear a little bit from a person who owns a comic book store of, like, what's cool, what's popular right now and new,
Oh.
but also what you're reading just to finish things up here.
I mentioned it earlier. I'm currently reading the omnibus there. That by
Yes.
the next podcast, I'm still gonna be reading.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's gonna be a while. But Stray Dogs is a series that has been coming out. They've been reprinting. Every time I order, I still sell it. I
There's
finally
5 covers this week.
Yeah,
5 different
five
volumes,
different issue
like
volumes,
second print, third
reprint,
print,
yeah,
fourth
fifth
print.
print. If I'm not mistaken, I remember correctly reading that they said that issue 1, this was the last print. This is your last chance.
Well, they did that with
But every time they
Department of
reprint
Truth,
them,
too?
yes,
that was like 7th. I said in the
6th or 7th.
It
Yeah.
said in the thing it says final.
print. When they do them, they keep doing homages to horror, which is an amazing thing for all of these fans of horror stuff to start collecting them anyways. And it's a horror series. And I finally, excuse me, got my hands on a first issue, one of the prints that I could read. I'm like, all right, finally, it's going to backstock. It's mine. I can read this thing. And I can see why everyone's hooked on it. I can't wait. It will be, obviously, for me, a trade series. I can't wait to read it. Stray Dogs has been super hot. It's an incredible horror book. It's really cool. Nottingham has been selling out like crazy. It's a different perspective on the Robin Hood story. Yeah, and that's been a really hot one.
Is it on Boom or no?
I want to say that's a smaller print. I remember it was like Aftershock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I can't even remember now.
Stray Dogs is on.
Stray Dogs is a Image series, if I remember correctly.
I believe so,
yeah, I believe that's an Image one.
With that many covers and that many prints, and
yeah, it's got to be Image. Yeah, yeah, the little guys can't quite cover that.
Which is crazy because it's just to really quickly piggyback on that is, I don't think I've followed comic books in a time where 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th prints were so prevalent to now.
Yeah,
and I don't think I lived in a time that the second print sometimes can be more valuable than the first print.
I had a 3rd print of Something's Killing the Children #3 that is just insanely valuable because they printed less and less. People kept
so it's Berserker.
And back at that point in time, Something's Killing the Children wasn't a major known story like it is now. At this stage, we're on issue 18 or something, 19, and everybody knows it. Everybody's ordering it. At that stage, it was still, some markets may not carry it. It wasn't going to be at every comic book store. Like
it was Berserker 1 or 2, the second print of one of those 2.
That was number 1. I think it was very
limited. It was like they printed 100,000 copies of the first copy, and they printed like 20,000.
Yeah, it was like 18, 20,000 because that one was based off of the original purchase history of 1 and 2 combined. Was how many they printed to each comic store got. And that's a very scarce book.
And that's one. And that's what was funny because I look at the value and like my Berserker #1's worth $4.
Yeah.
And Berserker #1 or whatever it is,
so many
#2. I think it was #1. Second print's worth like $30, and it's like, how is that possible that the second print is
print's worth more?
And it's not like first appearance of Miles Morales, first appearance of Gwen Stacy, first appearance of Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
Like the 5th printing is worth $100 right now.
Yeah, that's gone.
And so it's like, don't sell yourself short if you come into a comic book store and all they have is the 4th or 5th printing. There's a possibility they could actually be worth some money. And so
some money. If not
don't feel
money,
bad
sometimes.
that you don't get the 5th printing or the first printing. Man.
Yep, absolutely. So those have just been a couple.
Yes.
A few of this. Those are some of the independent stuff that's been this has been super hot. But the Marvel stuff has been crazy. It always is. That's an easy one. DC Star Wars, the Bounty Hunter series of Star Wars that is kind of spreading
War of the Bounty Hunters,
a very large world base. It's following Han Solo after he gets frozen in carbonite and what Boba Fett was doing with him from there. That story is sold out. I think every week has come out, and I have to keep trying to get back orders to fulfill the rest of the needs for it because it's been so large. So that's been a hot one.
And that's Marvel also prints twice as many books as DC does right now.
Yes.
And so there's that aspect of it too. So like it's hard, everything's hot for Marvel right now. But like the Bounty Hunter, like I said, the same thing with the Charles Soule Star Wars issue. But that led me to read Dr. Aphra and Bounty Hunters and all that stuff. And it's all great stuff.
Sucks you in there.
It's the world of Star Wars is just as good, and it makes me happy that it's on Marvel.
Yeah.
And it makes me happy that places like Dark Tower and all those are no longer with Marvel.
Yeah.
Because it feels like if I was, I'd have another thing to go into.
You got to go get them.
But the Bounty Hunter stuff has been amazing, and they keep on coming out with new art, new the War of the Bounty Hunters. And they come out with 2 books this week, and excuse me, I'm gonna run out of money.
I feel like a lot of people feel that way. Yeah, it's easy to try to figure that out. I mean, I remember being a kid, we'd go into the comic book store, and I had a budget that was set. You got to figure out what you're gonna spend. And when the prices went up to a whopping $1.25 per issue, I was like, oh wow, I got to figure this out. I'm gonna have to drop a title.
You know what?
Right.
As an adult, I have a budget for comic books too, right? You know.
Good job, yeah. I know because you came in with your wife last week in the Spider-Gwen F. Scott or J. Scott Campbell autograph was sitting up there. Yeah, and it was like, oh, why this week?
Also because my wife thinks that I have a crush on Spider-Gwen. I
probably
do,
doesn't help.
but like other than that, she thinks that I'm gonna leave her for Spider-Gwen. So
it'll be okay, hon. She doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, it's one of those things. I do have a budget every week, and it's funny because there are weeks that it's like well below that, and there are weeks that are well above it, but it does average out. So
by the time you're done,
but I was able to help Paul quit. What?
Whoa, what?
Quit ordering Spider-Man.
By the time this comes out, I think we're going to be either official or pretty close. So, yes, Galactic Comics will be full-time. Starting September 1st, we're going to be open. We're looking at probably like a 10 to 7 Wednesday through Friday, and Saturdays we're going to go 10 to 5. And, yeah, I know. Yeah,
we're have a life?
Yeah, I'm going to try to have a life. And honestly, that last hour on Saturdays, everybody apparently is doing something besides come here. So, yeah, it's mostly just me sitting here trying to get work done that hasn't been done all week. So yeah, full-time Galactic Comics. Woohoo!
This is what happens when you get a couple beers in you and we just do things that you weren't supposed to do.
Right. That was supposed to be mentioned.
But I think it'll be fine. And if it's not, it's your old job's fault, not yours.
True story. Yep, true story. So tough luck.
Blaming them, yeah. But yeah, so I'll bring up the next one as just quickly as we finish up here because we should probably go back. We have wives and it's funny. It's funny when we first started recording together, it was wives and then he had children at home. Now we have wives and both have children at home. Is that Free Comic Book Day? I'd love to bring that up. So Free Comic Book Day is August 14th. Saturday, August 14th. So this episode comes out on August 11th, which is
Friday,
Thursday, or Wednesday of.
11,
12, 13, 14. So this coming Saturday is Free Comic Book Day here at Galactic Comics, and you're still open 10 to 6.
Yep, 10 to 6.
And you'll have a number of free comic books.
Comic books.
Are you doing? Is it free comic books? You have to purchase anything, or you just get them?
Nope, they're free. Free when you come in. We may have limitations on covers.
Okay.
I'm going to be doing because of limitations on covers. I'm going to do grab bags for the first 10 people that you're going to get every single issue that comes out that day, with extra giveaways and stuff. Yep. We have a ton of promotional things going on. Giveaways. You can sign up for win drawings for Bangor Comic and Toy Con passes. There's 2 of those being supplied by BCTC. You're going to have a Spawn Todd McFarlane exclusive figure and a drawing for $10 gift card to Galactic Comics. So
and you know what? He doesn't know this yet, but I'll throw in a gift card to Owen Brewing Company too.
Oh, so, baby!
There you go. Look at
that.
There, done, right there. So we'll also have surprises there. We'll be doing a tasting, so I will be here. Yes. So I have double duty that day. So we're in a broadcast live here on Free Comic Book Day. So honestly, if you're around and you just want to talk comic books with me and my co-host who's not here tonight, but Adam, and you just want to shoot the shit with us.
If that guy exists.
Yeah, we'll have a mic open. Come sit down, hang out with us. I don't care. I don't care if you've never been on a podcast before or a live stream before. We're just gonna talk. We're gonna talk the titles that are out for free that day.
Sure.
We're gonna talk just random comic book topics.
What are you reading?
We're gonna talk. Will from Bangor Comic and Toy Con said he's gonna pop in.
Yeah, he's gonna
be doing stuff for Comic Con because we got into the facility starting tomorrow. To this recording tomorrow.
Sure.
We're in the facility for Bangor Comic and Toy Con, getting ready prepared for October. But he's just swing by and say hi and sit down and chat with us about Comic Con. But then when we finish with that, we'll take a quick break and then we'll be doing a tasting for our brewing company. So we'll have some beers available. 21. You can be in the store any age. There's no age limits to the store.
Nope.
But to actually taste our beer and to talk about Orna Brewing, to come up to our table and hang out with our table, we ask you to be 21. For liability issues and reasons, obviously. That's the way it is. And so we're excited for that. So that'll be cool to do that. And we'll have some stickers and things that.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so it'll be a fun day. Free Comic Book Day is one of those things that I feel like one of the things that Adam and I will talk about on the podcast.
Yeah.
Or the live stream that day is. It's unique to this industry.
Yeah, it's like a holiday for comic books.
And it's one of those ways that I feel like we can get young readers to read comic books.
Yeah,
come in here,
absolutely, put them in their hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and what's funny about it is I've gotten many Free Comic Book Day books over the years that are actually worth money.
Yeah,
and that's the other part is they slip in here and there.
There's some first appearances that only exist in Free Comic Book Day books. And there's one I still need for my personal collection.
And they slip it right in there, and it's the funniest thing. And it's like it's a way to get people to go. It's a way for the comic book industry mega people to give back to the small people.
Yeah.
and that's what's really cool about Free Comic Book
As a
Day,
small
so.
person, I appreciate that.
And yeah, and then when you're in here, you can get, there's toys here, there's Pokemon cards, Magic cards, there's manga. Are you doing manga now?
Yeah, yes, we have a quite a nice little manga selection around the corner here.
Back issues.
Set up with my buddy Nino.
Back issues. As of right now, you buy 5 $1 books, you get one free. But on that day, you have a chance to roll dice.
Yes, we're doing a dice tower roll, so you can roll up to 20% off. So we roll the dice, and hey, whatever you get comes off whatever it is you're purchasing. Doesn't matter if it's comics, if it's action figures, doesn't matter.
You get 20% off the free comic books.
We will try to figure the math out on that. I'll put Logan in charge of that. Logan works here.
He's good. Double the 20% off all free comic books. If you want those on that day, I'll foot the bill.
We're gonna get Logan a calculator.
You tell him that day. Logan, by the way, if someone gets a free comic book, they get double the percentage off, and see what he says. But yeah, so it's fun. So Free Comic Book Day, August 14th, Galactic Comics, 547 Hammond Street, Bangor, Maine.
Nailed it.
And if you're not from us, go to your local comic book shops.
Yes.
Free Comic Book Day.
Support LCSs.
Do it.
Support your local comic stores.
It's worth it. You go in there, you get to meet the people. It's like a party in here. It's gonna be fun, and we didn't get to do it fully last year.
No, it was sad last year,
which was pretty cool. And
my first full year with Free Comic Book Day, and I had all these plans. We couldn't do it due to COVID, and this year we were gonna have a party, rock it out. It's exciting.
And I know I'm gonna speak out of turn here if it's not true, but like if you message Paul, I don't feel like comfortable coming in if it's 1,000 people in here. Can someone bring something out to my car?
All day, every day. Message us, call us, anything that goes on. If you need a hand with something, we will help you. We love it. I know Jess is going to work here that day too with me. Jared from Bangor Comic and Toy Con said he's going to be in helping.
Nice.
And I'm sure he'll be popping in with you. So, anything you guys need, we're always happy to help.
So awesome. So Galactic Comics, you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, soon a website. And so follow them, message Paul if you ever need a book or anything like that. Just go to the Facebook page, click on the message, Galactic Comic Books. And Collectibles, do that. They have toys.
There's toys galore.
Why is Aquaman back here?
I love Aquaman.
And then come Free Comic Book Day if you want, as well as I'd like to give a shout out now to all these comic book ones. Bangor Comic and Toy Con is October 1st to the 3rd. BangorComicandToyCon.com. Buy your tickets. Just to let you know, the Clerks people are going to be there, as well as Judith Hogue from TMNT.
Mick Foley.
Noah Hathaway. Atreyu from The Never Ending Story.
Yeah.
And the list goes on and on and on.
Jess made apparently a sound that I didn't realize Jess could make. Jess works with me. When Will told her that she could have a day with him at one of the events, and Will said, "Yeah, I'm stealing Jess from you."
Have you seen his pictures he's posted online?
I didn't know Jess could make that noise.
Have you seen his pictures posted online? I might make that noise. That guy is fit. But so yeah, check it out. BangorComicandToyCon.com. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram as well. They're great dudes. Will and Jay are great, and so
love those guys.
It's gonna be fun on that weekend as well. So. But yeah, sweet, man.
Awesome.
First episode at Galactic Comics in Bangor, 547 Hammond Street in Bangor. Follow us, Maine State of Mind, on Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube for the video portion.
Absolutely.
TheMainStateOfMaine.com. Sweet.
One day I'll get my wife to listen to this.